Welcome to my madness, ladies and gentlemen. Today I want to talk about Best Action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is a line that's been out for a few years. Best Action's been doing some stuff in the 5-inch scale for a while, and they've put out a ton of stuff. But I think it's, pretty common knowledge that their biggest line is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I've been seeing their figures on store shelves and online for several years now. And, with their price point, I've always been tempted to pick some of them up. But I never did until recently. And that's when, these 4 new versions of the Turtles came out. And I saw them, I thought, man, those look really cool. And I don't really collect smaller scale, 5-inch scale stuff. I have some older vintage stuff, like some of the older Ninja Turtles that are in that kind of 5-inch scale, but it's not really something I actively collect. But these things just looked so cool that I went ahead and I picked one up. The first one that I got here was Donatello. And I got him out of the package, and I just fell in love with the figure. And so I immediately went out and I ordered the other 3 turtles. I got them in, got them out of the package, set them up, put them on my desk, started playing with them for a few days while I'm doing other stuff at my desk, and just fell in love with these figures. Then I ended up saying, you know what, I want to see what else is out there. Ended up making a run by Target to look at something completely different. Saw Toka and Razor back there at Target and was like, these look awesome, let me pick them up. Now, it is really hard to judge an entire line, especially a line that has as many figures as, the Best Action Ninja Turtles line, by just 6 figures. And I get that completely 100%. But, I'm sitting here, I've picked up my first 6 figures over the last month or so. And I gotta say, I have been really, really impressed. These figures have just kind of blown me away. And look, I'm an old school Ninja Turtles fan. I had literally every single figure in the original Playmates run, probably from like 88 all the way up to like 93. All the vehicles, everything. I was a, old school Playmates completionist back in the day. I'm a huge Ninja Turtles fan, but as I've become an adult collector in the last, 8 to 10 years or so, Ninja Turtles hasn't really been something that I've gotten back into for a variety of reasons. I'm not really into the Playmates stuff that's come out in the last 10 years or so, to be honest. I've picked up a couple here and there, but I usually keep them for a little while and then end up like giving them away to my nephews or something like that. I love the NECA stuff, and the NECA stuff's great, but they've got a lot of different lines, as they should. Whether it be the comics line, the cartoon line, the movie line, whatever. It gets to be a lot, kind of hard to keep up. And while I think the NECA stuff is 100% worth it, there's no doubt about that whatsoever. NECA makes great quality stuff. They are more expensive figures than a lot of other figures out there. Less so than others, I get it, But, at $35 a pop, give or take, NECA is a little more expensive, so it's not a line I've gone full in on. And then you've got a line like this, where, I paid somewhere between $17 and $22 for each one of these figures. Somewhere in there. I don't remember. I think Token Razor, I paid $20 a piece for. I think Donatello was $19. I think Raphael was like 22, Leonardo was 22, I think Michelangelo was 18, something like that, okay? A variety of ranges in that, $17, $18 up to like $22 price range for these 6 figures. Now that's considerably cheaper than NECA. While you are not getting the scale and detail of a NECA figure, absolutely, I'm not trying to make that comparison. What I can say is, now that I've been playing around with this line and looking at it and, playing with the figures and checking out the articulation, which we will go into, by the way, because the articulation, I think, is absolutely fantastic. I gotta say, this feels like a good middle point for me between value for what you get for the money and the kind of thing that will attract an adult collector, right? Like NECA is great as an adult collector line, right? It is not made for kids, but they cost more money. Playmates costs a lot less money, but it is made for kids and doesn't really, at least for me anyway, hold much value because I just don't really feel like I'm getting anything out of it. They just feel like kids' toys that are modern that I'm not interested in, you know? So there's this line there, and this seems to have a foot in both sides of that. They have value because they're not ridiculously expensive, yet they've got adult collector, you know, appeal. I mean, that's essentially how it breaks down. They're good, solid figures. You know, there's really, you know, when I look at, let's say, Leonardo here, articulation, right? Big deal for a lot of adult collectors. There's really only one point of articulation on this guy that's not, let's say, up to the standards of what most other action figures out there on the market, in the adult collector market, are up to, and that's going to be on the fact that it has just a single ball joint neck, which we will pop off here. All right, you just got a solid ball joint there. That's all you've got. But you still get pretty good articulation out of the head. Other than that, what you've got on this guy, as we get his bandana poked back in his head there, you've got double jointed knees, double jointed elbows, bicep swivels, thigh swivels. You got good ankle articulation, good wrist articulation. Now, of course, on the Turtles, you don't have torso articulation because you never do on the Ninja Turtles. But let's look at Razor here, right? You know, he's got all that same stuff, bicep swivels, thigh swivels, standard hips, you know, ankles, knees, all that stuff, right? But he's also got a ball joint right there in the middle, right? Not a lot of articulation, but decent. He's also got swivel there at the waist. You've got some added articulation. So depending on the figure, you've got a lot of the same levels of articulation outside of that ball joint that the head sits on that you get with your Marvel Legends and your G.I. Joe Classifieds and your NECA and all that other stuff. So I feel like this line kind of, it sits right in the sweet spot for people like me personally that don't want to spend a whole lot of money on Ninja Turtles action figures, but also want something that's a little more adult geared when it comes to the adult collector, right? You don't want a child's toy. I don't. I mean, I do like the children's toys that I grew up with. So if these were actual, like, classic, you know, late 80s, early 90s Ninja Turtles, yeah, that's awesome. And I have some of those, and I love those figures because they are just all nostalgia. But if I'm buying brand new figures, I don't want kids' toys. I want adult collectibles. That's what I want. And I feel like that's what I'm getting with this line, but I'm getting it at a really good price. And that's kind of where I've fallen on this. And again, I've just begun my collecting journey in this particular line, but I'm feeling really good about it so far at only 6 figures in, and I really don't see anything negative about this line yet. Maybe I will at some point, I don't know, and if that happens, I'll make a video on it, and I'll talk about that and that kind of stuff, but at this point, I'm feeling pretty good about this line. Now, real quick, I do want to do a couple of comparisons here. I want to show you where this line kind of falls in compared to some other things out there, just so you guys can kind of get a good beat on this. If this is something you've also been looking at in stores for a while and haven't really pulled the trigger on yet, maybe this will give you an idea if it's something you want to go ahead and pick up. All right, so here we have some other comparisons here. Of course, we've got a couple of NECA back here at the back. We've got our movie line Donatello. And then here, kind of hard to see because he's roughly about the same size as the rest of our Ninja Turtles here. But we've got our, NECA cartoon series, Raphael. And then, of course, up at the front, we've got an original, late 80s Playmates Metalhead, one of my favorite action figures of all time, which is why I've got him here. And you can see this line kind of falls somewhere in between. They're a little bit bigger than the old school line. Obviously, they're smaller than the movie line from NECA, but right about the same size, give or take, as the cartoon line from NECA. And, while is that the perfect size? I mean, I don't know. I prefer 6-inch scale stuff, and these are obviously smaller than 6-inch scale. Do they still work on a display? I think they really do. I mean, especially depending on what display you're gonna put them in. Now, the only thing I will say completely 100% they don't fit in with, of course, is the NECA movie scale stuff. These larger figures, full 7-inch scale, these guys look tiny compared to those. But compared to a lot of other stuff out there, even to Marvel Legends, these guys actually work in really, really well. Not that you would cross display your Marvel Legends and Ninja Turtles, but if you did, they actually look pretty good, I'll tell you what. So, you know, it's kind of a hard thing. I mean, it really is. You gotta figure out what works for you. And I know for a lot of people out there, when it comes to Ninja Turtles, you know, I mean, NECA's the way to go. I mean, they're making really, really nice stuff. And I love the NECA stuff, I really do. But is it something I'm going to hardcore collect at an average of 10 to 15 bucks more than what I normally spend per figure? You know, at $25 versus $35 to $40, you know, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and it has prevented me from hardcore going into the NECA Ninja Turtles line and really, really going all in on collecting those. Whereas something like this kind of fills that gap for me, where I feel like I can collect Ninja Turtles and I can get something that I really like, something that's got great sculpts, great articulation, good size for the franchise, works well in the rest of my collection, and something that I'm really gonna enjoy, and something that comes at a great price. And that's saying a lot, man. That works really, really well for me personally, and it might be something that works well for you. I don't know. That's why I wanted to make this video. See what you guys have to say and give you guys my opinions. And as those opinions change and evolve, I will be sure to let you guys know. But that is pretty much it, guys. I would love to hear what you guys think. If you collect these Best Action, you know, Ninja Turtle figures, what do you think of them? Where are you at with them? I know they're popular with a lot of people, but obviously not everybody. To me, right here, only 6 figures in, I'm really, really digging it. I'm loving the way these figures look. I'm loving what I'm getting for the price. I feel like I'm getting a good value here. I feel like I'm getting a good product for the amount of money that I'm spending on these guys, but I would love to hear what you guys think. So let me know down in the comment section down below. As always, guys, thank you for watching, and always remember to enjoy your collection.